This is 22.
So this is 22. So this is one of 2 vintages that we inverse the proportion of Cab Franc to Cab. So typically Maya wine is, the base is coming from Maya's Vineyard, which is our best block of Cabernet Sauvignon. And we always blend it with a high percentage of Cabernet Franc, but it's usually in like the 60-40 proportion.
Of Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet.
Exactly. But 2022, the Cabernet Franc was just so exceptional that we felt we were playing with blending and we're like, okay, what if we like reverse the blend? So it became 55% Cabernet Franc, 45% Cabernet Sauvignon to really allow the Franc to shine and give it, its moment of glory. And it was exceptional. So we're like, okay, well, it would be a shame to not release the wine as is in this proportion. And the last time we've done that was 1989.
To put that much Cabernet, because usually it's how much you said?
Usually it's in the 40% range. Yeah.
Would you, because you said it was so exceptional, would you ever make 100% Cabernet Franc?
It's always a point of discussion / contention. Yeah, name it Nachos Cuvée.
That would be good.
So my mom, we used to make a Cabernet Franc just for mailing lists, like a mailing list only wine.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Yeah. But we haven't made that since the early 2000s, and she's always been a big believer in just like blends and then Cabernet Sauvignon being the star. So it's it's not out of the question, but it's for now, no Cabernet Franc. Wine.
Maybe sometime in the future. I just think Cabernet Franc is so similar to Petit Verdot. Petit Verdot, obviously, maybe known for giving more color, and known in smaller amounts.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm talking to winemakers, so you're the pro. but Cabernet Franc, when I talk to people, it's like more floral, right?
Yeah.
Is it more of an aroma-driven grape or a flavor and structure-driven grape?
I think it's all of the above. I mean, it depends on like what other grape you're blending it with, of course. But I mean, in our case, what I love about Cabernet Franc and what it adds to the blend is exactly like what you described: is the florality, the aromatics, the complexity that it brings to the bouquet. But also like adds back freshness into the taste as well, like as you're tasting the wine, and like adds more lift to it. Because like Maya's Cabernet Sauvignon by itself can be really austere, super linear, like very brooding. Yeah. And it's that Cabernet Franc that really gives it that expansive feel on the palate.
That's my first entry into Dalla Valle. It's called. That's how you pronounce it.
Dalla Valle.
Dalla Valle.
Almost.
Dalla Valle.
I know.
I
it's
love,
a hard one.
It's one of those names that's just beautiful to see and spell. I don't know. Mm-hmm. For some reason, my favorite word to spell is feeling in cursive. It just feels very nice to spell.
I can see that.
And I love. I just love the name in general. It's after your father, right? Gustav?
That's my last name.
Okay.
Dalla Valle.
Dalla Valle. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And what I was saying is my first entry was the Maya bottling at the tasting in New York. And what I loved about it is I love wines. I just think wines have so much talent when they can show well young and age at the same time. Like you can drink it young. Yeah. Some wines, people are just like, how dare you open it?
I know.
And it's so young, it's so austere.
Yeah.
But this was like, I could open a 2022 and drink it right here.
And 2022 is definitely a vintage that has that accessibility early on.
Yeah. Was it a difficult one for you, or was it, because you became winemaker in 21?
Officially, yeah.
Officially, okay.
Exactly. So I came back in 17 and then was involved with the day-to-day winemaking, and then like formally took over in 2021.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I want to go back a little bit. I know we started talking about the wines and Maya, but which is a good entry for people to get hooked onto the episode. But going back to you, like I like introducing guests, but I like sometimes for guests to introduce themselves.
Okay.
So just where were you born and raised, and was wine, I think, from the start?
We're here. We're here, where I was born and raised on this property. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's a very special experience, and I mean, I feel incredibly fortunate.
It feels like you walk into a place and it feels like home.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some wineries, you're just going into a winery and it's more commercial. But here,
Right.
ever since I stepped in like 15 minutes ago, I just felt like, I don't know, the homes have energy.
Yeah.
And my wife's like an architect and interior designer.
Okay.
And if it hadn't been for her, my home would be like a mattress on the floor.
Yeah, you're lucky to have
Yes,
in-house, in-house interior designer, architect, all the above.
So you were born and raised here, and your parents had bought the property in the 80s, or
In 82, they came here.
in 82 with the idea to create a winery, or
So initially they when they came to Napa Valley, they had this idea to start a hotel and restaurant, but that's very difficult to do here. As we had talked about before,
doing business in California.
No, we don't have to go into business in California. That's less fun. But the Ag Preserve. So the Ag Preserve has done a great job in preserving and making sure that the land is used for agricultural purposes, as we see it as the best and highest use. But that also means there's very limited areas for commercial zoning and building like a hotel and restaurant. So, and I think as soon as they saw this property, they completely lost sight of that idea. They just fell in love with the land, they're looking at the rocky red soils. The view obviously is something else.
I love it. It's like having like the 50-yard line seats of a football field.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
so expansive.
so cool. I mean, I was at Pritchard Hill, and there you see like a really high view of Napa Valley. But here it's like you see north to south, the valley floor. Highly recommend anyone who can visit, and hopefully some people can. That would be amazing. So then they were like, okay, hotel, restaurant is gonna be well, let's just do wine.
Yeah, they felt my father, my grandfather had a winery in Alto Adige, and then so was in the wine business. So my dad had this idea, he was very much a Renaissance man. So before coming into wine, he was a scuba diver and then founded a company called Scuba Pro.
Okay.
So it's all if you dive today, do any kind of scuba diving, it still exists. But he had sold it, and so this was kind of like his last act in a way. And so he saw the potential. There was a couple acres of vineyards planted, and then decided like August, right before harvest of 82, like, oh, I'm going to make wine. So that's
a family tradition too. His father had done that as well.
Exactly.
Wait, the scuba diving thing. I don't want to go. What was the scuba diving thing that he invented? Was it a piece that goes? So
he founded the company. So they manufactured all things like BCDs, masks, fins.
Okay.
All the wetsuits, all that equipment. And then he was very instrumental in the diving industry. Like he helped develop the PADI certification. He helped the U.S. Navy SEALs, with their diving endeavors, and he did archaeological dives. He was very heavily involved in the diving industry.
Wow. Being from Miami, Florida, I probably use this stuff. I got my scuba license a few years ago. So.
That's awesome.
Wait, do you scuba dive or not really?
I do. It's just really cold here.
I mean, I don't know where you could do it here.
You can. Yeah. You just need a dry suit, but I'm too chicken, and I don't like being cold. So.
It's very...
I only go to warm places to dive.
and your mom is a big part of the winery as well.
Oh,
so she was heavily involved in 82 in the
she was there from the beginning. She did. My dad was helping out in the vineyards and making, tinkering and making wine, and then my mom was running the business side always since the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your father comes from the Italian roots, and your mom is Japanese.
She
correct?
is, exactly.
Got it. So it's just two very interesting cultures to bring together.
Great food cultures.
Yeah. Have you've been to Japan, I imagine, many times?
Many times, yeah. We just actually went for 2 weeks over New Year's, which was great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Tokyo and other cities?
Yeah, Tokyo, Nagasaki, and then my mom's from Kobe, so we went to Osaka and Kobe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, the wine scene in Osaka is crazy. I mean, there were some bars there that had really cool wines, and there's like some Pinot producers in Hokkaido that were what's the one called? It's become like a culty.
Yeah, it's like
Pinot Noir.
Tsuka no Mori or something. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's I haven't tasted it, but there's some people that say it's really
great.
good.
I've had it. It's a beautiful wine.
Amazing. And then you So you were born and raised here.
Yes.
Here, so you've been smelling fermentations before, before I don't know, before you smelled anything.
Yeah.
But when was the moment that you really thought, okay, I'm gonna continue this? Did you feel like always I have a responsibility?
No, not at all.
Do this?
No, I think, my parents were always really great where they always like allowed me to like live my, it's your one life. You should do what you love and something you feel passionate about and something you feel like you can excel in. So I think it was too obvious going into the wine industry. I don't know. I just thought like, no, this couldn't be it for me. So I left. I studied international relations, and my original like life plan was to join foreign service and I'd like become like a diplomat because I have a very mixed background. I love.
There's a little need for that today.
Yeah, I know. Probably
for calmer voices in the room, more wine in the room. I think.
Yeah, exactly. Now I just fuel everyone. But I think then leaving and removing myself from this place, I started to think about legacy and. I lost my father when I was young. I was 8 years old when he passed, and I'm an only child as well. So
that must have been just terrible.
It was, It was tough. Mm-hmm. It was really tough, and like the business was just starting to take off, and I think everyone assumed that my mom was just going to sell and go back to Japan, but she really doubled down and. Saw that they created this vision of making a great wine of the world and creating a great estate, and so she doubled down and wanted to continue that, and so she continued to make investments into building up the quality and like farming, bringing farming to the pinnacle. The building that we're sitting in today, we built about 10 years ago.
Okay,
and just remodeled our winery. So. Really like saying, we're here for the long run. And so I think that's very inspiring, right? And so you feel like...
And resilient. It's just a lot of resilience there. I'm sure your father would be very happy and proud, and it's very special that you guys continued that.
I hope so. I hope so.
That's incredible. So, so that must have been obviously a very pivotal moment of, for the winery as well.
Yes.
So you then growing, older here, you worked at other wineries as well. So did you feel like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I need to learn from the best people in the world? And I think you did. I'm gonna name here a few wineries that Maya's worked. Maybe you've heard of them. I don't know. Chateau Latour, Petrus, Maceto, who we just talked about. You need a resume. You're just like. This is where I learned. My question is, what's one thing you learned from each of them, and why did you choose to work at these places or in Europe in general?
I learned so much from every experience that I had. They were all different, and they were all incredibly informative and formative, for that matter, to like the winemaker that I am today, and like how I manage vineyards and the winery itself is by having all those experiences. So, like Petrus is probably the most comparable in size to us, and just working with a smaller team, and they were just so.
It was Olivier?
Olivier and his father, Jean-Claude.
Okay. He's such an awesome guy.
Oh my God. Every day I was like pinching myself. I was like, is this really happening? Like, am I really working here? Like, I was just like but they were like they were so kind and
you
really
would think it was like closed off, very pretentious, but when you speak to Olivier, he's just the funniest guy.
No, the precision at which they work and the pride that they take, and you see everyone who works there, how much pride they take in the work that they do, and it makes you feel inspired and want to work that much harder, And I really loved that time there, and then working at Latour, that was the first hands-on experience I had with biodynamic farming. So they were in the process of conversion and just learning about what that takes. And they were working with horses, and I was like. I still would
Which is a big part of your life as well.
I'm a big horse person, so I still have ambitions of like incorporating horses into the vineyard, but I haven't.
Yeah, are we gonna see horses soon there?
Problem is they're on a hillside and we're wider spacing, so you're gonna need more horsepower.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'm sure your neighbors will love the horses.
I'm sure they'll love the horse aspect. Who doesn't love seeing horses around?
Yeah. Are you biodynamic?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the inspiration for me to like bring those practices here. Looking at a more holistic way of farming, looking at pushing quality, looking at maintaining health of older vines, because my mom did have to replant our entire vineyard in the early 2000s. So
it was a good time to really do that, to start over.
I think, it wasn't by choice. It was just a number of different diseases and viruses that were just insurmountable. It was better just to start scratch.
No, but it's a good opportunity when you're starting from scratch to implement those things rather than in a vineyard that's already planted and start burying cow manure.
Totally. So and after she had finished that process, she made the decision to move to organic farming. So we converted the vineyard to organic farming, which we've been doing now for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years now. And then in 19 we started biodynamic farming. So it's easy to convert from organic to biodynamic.
Do you think organic biodynamic wines just taste better, or do you think it's more of a vineyard resilience type of thing? Like, do you think it affects flavors?
It's so hard to really, quantify that. Like, I think you would have to be able to taste wines, and there's so many other factors in play. Like the vintage, you couldn't replicate a vintage that you farmed organically versus biodynamically versus conventionally, because the weather's different, your growing conditions are different. It's just it's impossible to replicate. But I really do feel like it does bring something a bit more of something, like it's almost indescribable. It makes the wines more complete, I think. And I think your vineyard resiliency, you feel just a difference. You feel a difference because you're more proactive. You have less, band-aids to put on to an issue, and so you want to be really ahead of any kind of problem or mildew or whatever it may be. You want to,
it's like preventative care rather than curing when the issue arises, right?
And so the idea is by creating a more complete system of a farm, you actually have to do less in some ways.
Exactly. It's sort of the idea of the input equals error, right? Like you have this thing where you don't have to do anything and the vineyard can do everything on its own. It's harder said than done, of course, but that's an interesting way of looking at it. And with another winery was Maceto and Ornellaia. Axel Heinz was a huge mentor for you? Or what? Okay, so he was a big mentor. Axel Heinz being a longtime winemaker at Maceto and Ornellaia, and now at Chateau Las Combes in Bordeaux.
Right.
What did you learn from him and working at Maceto that you maybe apply here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I think that was my first experience, working in a larger scale winery. I had worked a couple of vintages at a small winery here called Maya Vineyards. Okay. And that was my first introduction to very, not large scale, but making more wine, but at a very, very high quality. Because I think growing up in Napa, you have this assumption that small equals quality. I mean, I would say apart from Opus One is the best representation of making a larger scale wine, but at such a high quality. It's more because it's more left bank and has that kind of mentality that's crossed over. But I mean, just watching the precision and organization that he had, looking at numbers, but then also spending time in the vineyard. So we would do a lot of lab analysis and look at phenolic ripeness, and that was the first time. Here we always looked at technical ripeness of just sugar, boric acid, and malic, but looking at actually tannin, anthocyanin, and your polyphenols, extractable tannins, et cetera, and being able to put all those numbers together, looking at the vineyard, tasting the samples, and being able to make informed decisions that way was great.
Because Ornellaia is a blend at the end of the day. I mean, blending can be very difficult.
They have a lot of, it's a big, sizable vineyard comparatively here. We're 20 acres here. They have, over 100 acres planted. So, But seeing like that kind of quality of wine at that scale was like so impressive to me. I'd never had that experience.
That's crazy success when you can produce at higher quality at that level.
And so I was like, oh wow, okay, this is like possible, and like you just need to be like very technical, but also like he was so unique, or is so unique in the way that he can look at technical side, but also has the artistry as well, and like that creative side, and like really speak so eloquently and describe wines in a way that like I always aspired to be like. And he was a great role model.
It's amazing the blend of art and science there, and wine. So it's so special. And we talk about technical details and all that. I don't want to. It depends on the listener, right?
It can get real dry.
Yeah, but I'm interested in what freaks you out or what gets you anxious in winemaking. What specifically, when you're making wine, keeps you up at night? Is it the fermentation? Is it?
It's when I do native ferments. Those freak me out the most.
It's crazy. It's just, what if they stop?
Yeah, exactly. I think the scariest, the one that really kept me up at night this most recent harvest is that I'm working on a new like solo project, and I made some 100% whole cluster Syrah. And
I love it, Syrah. It's a secret. It's a secret.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I worked in Argentina, and that was the last time I worked with Syrah. That was 2014. So
wait, where in Argentina were you? Oh.
I worked at inside of Clos de los Siete at Bodega Rolland.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it had been a while, and I'd never done like 100% whole cluster Syrah. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it native. I had it like in an open top fermenter.
Native yeast meaning you're not adding yeast.
Sorry.
You're not adding
it's
commercial yeast.
It's spontaneous fermentation.
Because there's yeast on the grape skins, there's yeast in the vineyard, yeast in this room, right? There's just yeast everywhere. Yes. So it's just letting the fruit just ferment on its own. Yeah.
Exactly. That was really freaky because it took a while to like heat up and get going. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, it gets like some funky periods during the fermentation. I'm like, what is happening? And then that just kept me up. And then now, like in the finished product, I was like, oh, thank God. Like it came out like.
So it wasn't an experiment. This is part of something that you're working on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a new project that I've been working on. So
amazing. Syrah coming out, and so you have Maya. How many wines are in the portfolio? You have Maya, and then you have the Cabernet Sauvignon that you mentioned.
Yes, and then we have the Colina, which is like our introductory wine.
No whites in the portfolio.
No whites.
In the future, maybe.
I would always, I'm never opposed to making a white. I just haven't found the time to double down on it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But you're doing a really good job. And the wines that you're making right now with Dalla Valle, when you're not drinking Dalla Valle, what are some wines or regions that you look to for inspiration? Is it Italy? Or?
That's a good question. I mean, I rarely drink our own wines, like just on my own free time.
Yeah,
I think it's really boring.
What's in your fridge here?
Yeah. I mean, from a most recent trip I took actually was to Oregon, and I found it incredibly inspiring because it's completely different from, different region, different grapes. But there's so much freedom to experiment and work with these wines because like the cost to entry is not as high as Napa Valley. And so I think you have a wider breadth for being experimental or like really taking like a stand on doing like, whether it be like own rooted vines or completely, 100% whole cluster, like long-term ferments or no sulfur.
Yeah, it can be a good lab, a good way to test
and just
things.
seeing like their passion and energy and like their openness to discuss like what they do was really amazing. Like I walked away from that trip feeling very inspired.
There's a lot of cool producers doing great things, and aged wines from Oregon from like the 70s and 80s are crazy, and it has a good history. and I think it's very developed, like Yosemite Hills and Dundee Hills. Dundee is just, it's incredible. But and it's just like you said, it's a wholly different region, different grapes, things like that. So it's really, really good. And any other regions in Europe or Old World that you're?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I always have an affinity for Bordeaux. I spent 3 years there and studied there and worked there, and so it's nice to. I'm due for a trip to go back and visit producers again. But yeah, I feel like it's always a great exchange and conversation of ideas whenever I do go there. So like when I started working with Amphora here, it was because I saw them at Ponte Canet during my time there, and I love those wines as well, and like looking at ways to build back freshness or texture in the wines and things like that. And they have and then I don't know. I'm a very open-minded person when it comes to wine. I'm just like a generally naturally curious person. So
you taste a lot you have a good group of friends in the wine business, and hopefully some out of the wine business.
Yeah, exactly. So I like tasting like a whole gamut of wines, of course. I love wines from Burgundy. Like white Burgundy is, has a special place in my heart.
For sure.
As is Champagne. And then Italian wines, of course, too, from Sicily all the way to Piemonte. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And Napa has grown a lot, and obviously critics have helped lift Napa as well.
Right.
The Judgment of Paris. There's different events that happen. In 1992, Robert Parker, the famous critic, gave Maya Cuvée 100 points, and having. I'm just a wine geek. I read a lot about history. I have all of Robert Parker's booklets since his first edition, and I've
That's amazing.
read it. And it's just, I got them from an older collector who had them all, and he's like, do you want all these boxes? And he shipped them to my dad's house, and my dad's like, there's like 700 pounds of paper in front of the house. Like, who shipped this here? And I'm like, it's mine. And then
amazing he kept them all.
And then my wife's like, yeah, that's going to storage. So it's gone. And now with a baby in the house, we're not having any of that.
Yeah.
But so when he gave the 100 points in 1992, how old are you? You were still very young, right?
So when he gave, it was the 92 vintage, and then the review came out in 95.
In 95.
And I was 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember the effect of that on the winery, or not really?
I remember, well, it was a really difficult time for us because my dad was very sick. So we learned about the score, and then within the month he passed away.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
So it wasn't. Yeah, so I think it was probably like the last thing I was remembering really. But I do remember like people just like the phone wouldn't stop ringing. People were calling off the hook to get an allocation and buy wines, and my mom just my poor mom was like dealing with all this thing, and it's just single mom, another country, we have no family here, and like and this business is like just starting to really take off, and then just losing your husband. So
I can't imagine how crazy that moment was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I don't think younger generations in wine truly understand how much of an impact that was. I mean, I was reading about Scarecrow, and like Scarecrow, like it was a Parker score that just like put it on the map. Mm-hmm. So it's just crazy to think like how it affected the winery as well. Do you think the world of criticism has changed since then? I mean, do you think 100 points takes you the same place as in 92 it did, or is it sort of like everyone gets 100 points now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to pass too much judgment on that topic, but I think I think there's a lot more critics out there, and there's a lot more. We have the internet now. Yeah. And so
just
everyone.
ChatGPT it.
Yeah, and I feel like also younger, like our generation, and younger people it doesn't have the same meaning for them. Because you have the internet, you ChatGPT, you can look at, online, and they're more interested in the story and the authenticity behind the wine, and
you being a younger winemaker, it's so just refreshing. I don't know, you understand both sides to it.
Yeah. I think obviously the critics have been immensely helpful to like the building of our brand and giving recognition. And we've always been very small. Like, you know, we just hired like our first like director, like, and then we're celebrating 40 years as a wine. That's like pretty amazing. Like the first one ever like designated to like.
Oh, I realize that. It's 40 years.
Yeah.
It's 40 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, I think we relied heavily on like SOM community, and on, you know, critics to be able to continue to tell our story, because my mom was a single mom at that point and like really wanted to raise me, and she wanted to keep a balance as much as she could. So keeping the integrity of the wine, the authenticity, I think is what people gravitate towards, which is really nice, because we've always really made an emphasis on making wines of a singular place. So like if you think about this kind of a monopole, like nobody else has ever made wine from this estate except for Dalla Valle.
Yeah, and this estate, just if we can explain to our readers who are just sitting on a couch or driving a car, we are in Oakville, right? The Oakville AVA, and we're on a hillside facing west.
Yes.
So this is the Vaca mountain range?
That's correct.
Okay, so the exposure of all these vineyards is all west facing then? And how does that, what's the difference? I think Harlan is, you know, right on the other side. How does the exposure change versus the other hillside? Right?
Yeah,
like you're getting afternoon sun.
We're getting afternoon sun, so we get long hours of sunlight. Soil types are immensely different. Even if you look at like outside the topography and what's growing, like this is more like brush, oaklands, and then you look on the west side, it's all like, you know, redwood, forested.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm realizing that now, looking out the window. I'll send videos. Don't worry.
So yeah, I mean, you look at that. You look at soil types are immensely different. Exposures are different. So your ripening times are going to differentiate depending on where you are. So, you know, here there's very iron-rich, volcanic, rocky soils. We have westerly exposure. What's interesting is that we sit on this plateau. So, you know, we have western-facing slopes, but we also have like slopes that almost start to slope towards the east, and then you look here, it starts to go down northwards, and then a more southern facing slope where the Maya block is. So it's very interesting. That gives us a lot of different angles and exposures to the sun throughout the day.
Got it.
Yeah.
And having the wine in the glass here, you talked about making wines of place, a place that, you know, in the aromas and in the taste describe where we are right now.
Yeah.
How would you describe, Maya, your wine? Like, what's the unique flavor profile? Like on Pritchard Hill, someone said it's our wild brush herbs that makes us unique. Or what's the specific profile that you think is made here that maybe is harder to replicate somewhere else?
Yeah, I think, you know, they have the iron from the soil. You have really these wines that have great concentration, and then but also they also have this natural kind of lift and brightness to them as well. Yeah. And you always have this very seamless tannin profile. And it doesn't matter who's working on these wines. This has been, you know, the winemaking hands have changed over the course of 40 years. But what's great is that you can taste all of them, and they all have this incredible, like, seamless texture in the profile.
Yeah, no, the iron, you really get that. You really get that here, and the colors is really beautiful. Yeah. Is there music that you listen to, or ways that you kind of find your inner zen in the vineyard? Do you listen to music when you're like, when you need? I'm gonna go back. I think the hardest decision a winemaker has to make is when to pick, because when you take the grape off the vine, there's no going back. I'm not gonna glue the grape back onto the vine and expect to ripen it. So I want to rephrase my question and ask, when you decide to pick, how do you decide to pick? Is it tasting, or do you put it through a robot and it tells you all the technical details?
If only it could be so easy.
Yeah. So how do you decide when to pick your grapes? AKA the hardest decision.
You know, that's a great question to ask winemakers, because you could ask 10 different winemakers and have 10 completely different answers. So
one told me he listens to the wind. It's just
so, you know, you can do it any way you like. So I mean, I think for us, we try to make, you know, team-based decisions. I think it's great to have like multiple palates tasting, and you get like a more complete idea of what it is you want to do. So, you know, we'll walk the vineyards, and we have, you know, the technical numbers, of course, and we look at both those in conjunction, but it's through like taste and, you know, looking at the seeds, are they brown? Looking at the pulpiness, you know, the pulp, the skins, how extractable, you can like chew and like rub the skin in your hand and see how extractable things are. You can feel the tannins. It's a lot by feel. So
I love that it's by feel. I mean, there's so much AI technology. Everyone is going crazy about this stuff.
Yeah.
But what I like about wine is it's sort of technology proof in some instances.
it is.
So I love how you can just feel that it's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's very special and human, and a robot can't do that.
No, I
At
think.
least not yet. But.
No. Well, and it can't, that's, I think, what makes wine really compelling is that you have all these different interpretations in, you know, you get one shot a year, right? Harvest only comes once a year. And you have all these different interpretations of these different, you know, sites and of the vintage. And it's like a very personal take on how you interpreted and envision the vintage to be, right? As you pick, as you make, you know, decisions in the cellar and all the way into bottle, it's all about like what you saw. And that's why it's very important to be involved in the vineyard, is like, so you can follow the season and just like really see the wine all the way to bottle and to really make the purest expression of that vintage.
Yeah. Does your mom help at all with that decision making
Very.
She knows as well.
She's very about. We call her the queen of the sorting table. She has her apron on, ready to go every day. And
That's
she's
so
like,
exciting.
she'll tell you like, I love to touch all my grapes.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah.
I wish we could also interview her, because she just seems like the strongest woman
She
ever.
is. She's amazing.
And she's truly incredible. So hopefully we hear from her as well at some
Yeah.
point. I also want to talk about price when it comes to wine, because that's like a sensitive subject that like just wines are expensive, right?
Wines are expensive.
They're very expensive, and
They're not inexpensive.
They're not inexpensive, and I love fine wine, and having done a Masato dinner on Tuesday, these
I
wines
know.
are.
I saw.
Next time I'll send the invite.
I got lost.
My phone was on. But can you just talk about how pricey it is to just make wine, right? It's not. I think consumers sometimes get lost when you tell them the price of the wine. They're like, "Oh, that's so expensive." It's like you don't understand sometimes what it takes to put this in the bottle,
Right.
which can be a lot. So break that down a little bit, like just not how much it costs you to make a bottle of wine,
Right.
but like what are some of the biggest costs that maybe consumers don't understand that goes into fine wine, right?
Well, I mean, farming for one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about most of the year is spent in the vineyard, and when you do things at a very, very high level, it takes a lot of energy, time, and money.
Yeah.
You know, investing in like cover cropping, and we have a full in-house. We do all our farming in-house. We have a crew of 8 guys plus our vineyard manager, so 9.
Yeah.
And these are very highly skilled crews. And
These aren't people you just find nowadays.
No, our team is incredibly high skilled, and the time and hours and dedication it takes, you know, working full time and beyond full time to farm. That is a huge cost.
And these aren't these are picked by hand, right?
Yeah, everything is done by hand. The pruning, suckering, thinning, those all, and we don't use any herbicides, so all the undervine weeds are removed by hand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have a machine, they don't like pull it, but they like either shovel, or we use a implement called a cultivion, which is like a little baby cultivator or backhoe that like oscillates back and forth, and we can pull the weeds off. But that still takes time and manpower, right?
Yeah.
That's not the same as like taking a tractor and just doing one passive spray of herbicide, that's very low cost. This is like, this takes a lot of time and energy.
What's great is that you can enjoy it and drink it and consume it, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible to see that year over year. So thank you, because I think that's a very important part of it, and also supporting the story behind the wine. Like, we're talking about your story at the end of the day.
And it's like, you know, we've been here for 40 years, and we've, you know, built up over time. You know, it takes a lot to farm, investments, building new buildings, purchasing new equipment, tractors,
extending hospitality, and
one day.
one day.
Yeah.
Do you think Dalla Valle will be here in 40 years? Do you think
absolutely?
You're
I'm fully committed to this place, and it's a way for me that I still feel connected to my dad. It just has so much meaning, sentimental meaning for me, and not that it's great to be attached to a physical thing, but I really feel deeply attached to this place, and so you're gonna have to like drag my like dead body off of here.
Yeah, you're not leaving. It's like winemakers will move from winery to winery, but you're really rooted here. It's not like, I'm gonna work for another winery.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna want to hire me.
No, I'm sure they would love to.
Yeah, I have too many opinions.
It's good to tell your opinions.
Yeah.
People love to hear opinions. That's what gets eyeballs. And it's the sentimentality that you said to this place with your father. I know he passed when you were young, but is there one thing that really sticks with you from him, that a lesson that you really take from him to this day?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, he always taught me about the importance of being patient, and that good things will come to those who wait.
Yeah.
And you know, really taking your time and taking care of things, and like not only things but the people that come along with it. So like taking care of everyone is very important. Yeah. But also like having patience to know, and certainly in the wine business you have to have a lot of patience, because from, you know, the start of this season, this wine won't come out till, you know, 2029, so you won't really see it.
Isn't that crazy? You plant a vineyard and it's not going to give you grapes that you can use for 5 to 10 years, or maybe 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, it takes you about 3 years to start getting fruit, like usable fruit, and then I would say, another 2 to like 5-7 years to really get it very well established.
Patience is so.
And then once you make the wine, if you're making Cabernet, then that's, you know, takes 2 years to get to bottle, and then another year to market. Yeah. So really it is a long game.
It is. Does your mom say that you're, like, when you talk about patience, do you consider yourself a patient person or no?
I try my best. Okay. I think I am fairly patient until I'm not.
Okay.
Until I'm also a human being, right? So I'm gonna have my tolerance limit to where I'm like, all right, enough already.
No, you seem like a very resilient person. Also having won, you know, the suit that we talked about today, going to court. You had a really long year last year.
It was a long year.
You can read about it online, but and from your mother's side, like, what do you think you got from her? Like, I think as kids we take stuff. We all become our parents at some point. And what do you think you got from her?
I mean, certainly tenacity.
Tenacity
for sure. I mean, I think
she lives here. She's based in Napa as well.
Yeah, she lives on the property.
Oh,
she's probably in her office somewhere. I'll just tell her, take you by and say hi after. And I think, you know, tenacity, but also like always appreciating the fact, like, this is your one life, and like, what are you gonna do with your one life, you know? And don't like sit around and waste it. And so if you're gonna do something, do it well, like do it the very best that you can do it.
Yeah, right? Just do it. I think a lot of people try to do too many things at once, and I think when you do one thing really, really well, it's very special, and it lasts for a very long time. Yeah. But the reality is Napa's changing a lot. Like, I don't know, Arista closed a month ago. Like, you're hearing a lot about, you know, these changes, but I love how resilient, and the story behind this is going to make it last much, much longer. And I think these are the wineries that we need to really protect and to keep drinking. So,
yes, I agree.
It's incredible that you guys have really strong roots here and a wine that shows that. I mean, in terms of this wine, is it only distributed in the U.S. or do you have any international?
No,
presence?
this wine is an export as well.
Okay.
So we distribute this wine through the Place de Bordeaux.
Okay.
So we have 3 negociants that represent us in the global marketplace.
Got it. And La Place being it's an incredible program. Before it was just Bordeaux wines.
Yes.
And then it started, I think Opus 1 was the first U.S. or I don't know.
They were the first
and
US.
Nassetto was the first maybe Italian wine. And then they started expanding. So basically it's a one-stop shop to distribute your wines all over the world.
Yes.
Right? So they do that.
Yeah.
Do you travel a lot with work or are you not a front-facing person usually in the market?
Well, because we have nobody else until now, it has always been me.
It's crazy it's crazy how small and intimate this project is. And sorry that I'm a little naive about
That's
it.
That's okay. Because no one else is out there.
No, but no one else is out there. But the reputation of the winery, I told you before I even started this episode that we started talking that I've been in the valley talking to several producers, and when I tell them that I'm coming to visit here, they all have just such high praise for the wine and for your team, and that means really a lot because there's plenty of wineries out here that maybe your neighbors or like the trade communities like, no, don't drink that. But the consumers are like, oh, I love that wine.
Right.
I love Prisoner. It's so good. And then you talk to a trade and they're like, I don't drink Prisoner. But it's incredible when you have the hearts of both sides, right? Where you have when the trade respects you too, because the trade can be pretty nasty in its own community of
it's cutthroat.
Opinionated.
Yeah,
right?
I think they're also like they can smell bullshit like when from a mile away. They get fed it, they get fed all kinds of marketing all the time.
Yeah.
So, it's almost refreshing when someone from the winery who like has their name on the bottle who can like speak, in a detailed way about farming and winemaking, I think is unique.
Yeah.
For better or worse. I don't know.
And one of my last questions before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, I know I'm not going to ask the stupid question of saying, what's your favorite vintage? Everyone asks that. But is there one vintage that stands out to you for its either challenges or something that, I don't know, at the end of your life, you're going to be like, oh, that year that was special. Like, is there a year? I'm not asking for your favorite. Maybe I'm asking for one that's just, I don't know, special in some weird way.
Yeah, I mean, so I came back in 2017 and we had a string of very interesting and challenging years. But I would say 2020 was probably the year that challenged me the most. Just, in my profession, because we were dealing with COVID, so we had the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then we had, not only one, but 2 massive wildfires.
One of the worst wildfires in Napa history, 2020.
It was pretty bad, yeah. And so being able to keep your team safe, not hit the panic button, and they still showed up every single day, and we made, the game plan. When the first, fire hit, okay, like everyone has shown up like every single day throughout this pandemic because we're essential workers, so we could still continue to work. And
wine is essential.
It is essential. I think during the pandemic it was especially essential.
Yes, it was.
But I think it was, we were like, we made the decision, we owe it to everyone to at least try and see what happens. And let's do the testing and let's try to learn something from this experience and come away, whether we have wine or not, let's try to do this the proper way so we can, because we owe it to our team, right? So we went through, the whole vintage. We finished up by the time the glass fire started, and came away with some really spectacular wines. And so
you released wine and
we made a full vintage of 2020, and it's
wow,
like,
cheers for that. That's incredible that you were able to capture that year.
So I think it has a lot of emotion tied around it. It wasn't certainly like a fun time to do it, and it was really stressful, but to be able to come away on top and like be able to learn a lot and then have something you really feel proud of is always going to have a lot of meaning for me.
Yeah.
For me. So I think, definitely, you know, not the easiest vintage, probably the hardest one I've ever done, but
it doesn't surprise me speaking to you now. I just feel like you, your mother, your father, like your family has done a great job at, I think it's the epitome of building strength in a name and making a name. A name is everything.
Yeah.
Literally, when I think about it, it's just like a name can fill a room.
Yeah.
And it can bring memories and feelings to people. So, it's a great example of how, you know, your whole life you prepare for one moment.
Yeah, I mean, I would never have anticipated something like that happening, but yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't ever again, but even if it does, I'll be looking forward to seeing Maya and Dalla Valle on the table. So Maya, thank you so much.
My
for
pleasure.
making the time to do this and welcoming me, not only to the winery, but your home. So thank you so much.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.